dude. Careful.
Did you forget?
Realist Podcast. Welcome to the You Are Here Podcast. This is episode 154 of the podcast. You know where to find the podcast. Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube video, Anchor.fm, www.yourpodcast.co. We cannot afford the M.
I missed it.
Welcome back. Welcome home. For Mosa Hot Sauce, if you're looking for talking family passed down recipe, I'm talking vegan, gluten-free, soy-free, all the freeze, all the taste, all the flavor. I mean, I got the Chipotle bottle. I got the habanero bottle. I got the roasted peppers.
Yeah.
I'm on bottles and bottles, and I love it. I keep going. I'm telling you, you got to try it.
Shout out.
Mosasauce.com. Go get yourself some.
Thanks, Julio. Valino's Meat Market Steakhouse.
Boom.
Wayne, New Jersey.
Local.
Redan Ave. Local.
Steak.
New York style steakhouse, but you don't gotta go. You don't gotta get in the car. You and your lady or your friends or whatever, you don't gotta go nowhere. You just drive over to Wayne. It's a couple minutes away if you're in North Jersey.
Boom.
Okay, if you're not, it's worth the travel. Cream cauliflower on the side, dude. I promise you.
That's your shit.
I say it all the
That's your thing.
time, man.
That's your favorite.
The nice New York strip. It's a family spot. I'll be there. Say hi.
There you go.
Valino's Meat Market
And last thing, shout out to the patrons. They're on the screen right now. Patreon.com/YouAreHerePodcast. It's the best way to support us. If you guys like what we do and want to throw us a bone, Patreon.com, man. We're
and
back.
Subscribe also.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah,
You
like
gotta
and
let 'em
subscribe.
know.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Welcome back. Welcome home, man. We're here.
We're back.
Another week.
Happy 2022.
Dude, we're in the new year. We're coming back.
And we're back.
And we're back on it.
And I'm rejuvenated, dude.
Yeah.
Bringing on a hot guest
Yeah,
today. Hot fire guest today, dude.
We have in the studio today
Yeah.
Matheus Bastos
Yes, sir. Clap it up.
in the building.
Thank you guys. Thank you
Professional
for having me.
DP. But
Welcome
just
to the show, dude.
I checked out your work
Okay.
before this, the reel.
And Mikey keeps
And I'm
it
telling
real,
you, man,
dude.
I'm gonna keep it
Mikey
real.
doesn't lie.
Everything you shoot is beautiful.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Thank you, dog.
I could see the work and
You thought
we're gonna
I'd
get
bring-
into it.
Who'd
We're
you
gonna get
think
into
I'd
it.
bring?
I don't know.
What'd you think I'd bring?
I thought 2022. I was like, Dave's got to bring some.
Thought I was getting
You know?
old? You thought I'd fall off?
Yeah, they're falling
I
off
was
a little
sloppy?
bit.
No.
But
no,
obviously
first
not.
guest. No, Matt, Willie P. Pride, right? Like,
Yes, sir.
We're
Willie P.
pioneers, dude. We're pioneers.
We're going back.
I love
Come
that.
on, that's where we met.
I love that.
Right? Unofficially, officially, that's
Yeah.
where we met. Dude, but you're a killer DP after the years, man. We're
you,
watching
man.
your work and we're like, this guy's killing it.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
bro. Thanks for coming on the show.
Of course, man. Of course.
How's 2022 started for you, man? You got a story.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate before we started rolling.
Yeah.
That it seems bizarre already. So I want to start there.
Okay.
What the fuck
Uh-oh.
just happened?
Yeah. As far as which one?
This comedy thing.
Okay, so
Not comedy thing.
the
Performance,
So this
yeah.
was a little bit ago, but I thought it was such an incredible. So I had an experience. I was working on a film in Colombia that ended up going a little sour, and and then I ended up getting COVID when I was in Colombia.
Right.
Was stuck there. It was like a real brutal experience. I remember feeling like, okay,
Did it crush you or no?
crushed me, dude. Crushed me. Health wise, I felt okay.
Okay.
But I was having fever dreams. I was like, I was alone. The crew that I was with previously before the film and I split ways. They were deeper, like by the Amazon. I was back in the capital. My family's back in the U.S.
Whoa.
And this is right around the time and there was like some political uprising. There was riots. There was a lot of. So I was kind of like I was feeling just a certain kind of way, and so I came home finally after recovering, and I'm just feeling real down. And then I had a bunch of my really close friends that I came up playing music with, and we're gonna go see a Robert Glasper concert.
You play music too?
I did, yeah. Came up.
What?
I was in before my film career happened.
Yeah,
I was playing music for a long time.
What
Maybe.
instrument? Oh, wait.
Guess.
Don't say it. Yeah, I was going to say it. What do you think Matt would play? I'm going to guess the drums.
I'm gonna say that's a good guess. I'm gonna say bass.
That's so fun. So I was a drummer for these bands, but I played bass before that.
We're better friends now.
come
you're
on.
Oh, fuck.
But yeah, so my musical career mostly lasted with drums. I was
Yeah.
touring in different bands and traveling.
So
But
nice.
so a lot of my friends that I used to play in bands with, we don't play together anymore, but they were going to Robert Glasper concert. It was the Blue Note, the first time Blue Note reopened post-COVID, and Robert Glasper is the artist in resident. It's the last night of the week, last show. He did 2 shows a day. And they were like, you got to come. And I was just defeated, man. I was like, I can't, dude. I just want to stay home and just like not even be a human. I just want to like just lay in bed and just do nothing for the rest of the year. And they're like, yo, we bought you a ticket. You got to show up. So we go to the Blue Note. And, we're chilling in line. I'm like, I'm a Robert Glasper fan, but I was like, I wasn't, if they didn't buy me tickets, I wouldn't have gone, you know?
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm happy to be here. I'm with my guys. And then we walk in. Immediately we see 4 seats taken. The best seats in the house. I'm like, damn, I want those seats, dude. 4 tables, I should say. And they got a name tag, Chappelle, on them.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a good night. So we order some food, everyone's hanging out. People aren't quite sure, like, should we be indoors? Should we not be? What's happening? But we're back, you know. Robert Glasper and his band take the stage. They start introducing themselves. They start playing. They started off with a Radiohead cover.
Okay.
And, you know, jazz, hip-hop, kind of fusion thing.
Yeah.
Incredible. We're just like, okay, it's going to be a good night. Play music. They start playing stuff from Black Radio. We're just really into it. And then a few songs in, Robert's like, are there any MCs in the house? All of a sudden, Common and Talib Kweli get on stage.
Oh,
they start doing their own songs, start singing each other's songs. The crowd's singing along. They start just freestyling. It was incredible. They got off stage. Robert and the band keep playing.
Yeah.
And they're just riffing, going off, playing their set. And then once the set kind of starts coming to an end, in from like the back, I see Dave Chappelle walking.
Oh.
Behind him, Chris Rock.
Oh.
And I'm like, dude, this is something, man. Dave was just at a Foo Fighters concert right before that. And he sang on stage with them. He did a cover of Creep.
Yeah, I saw him doing that.
So he just came from there.
I saw him doing
Dave
that.
Chappelle?
Yeah, man. So we're like, okay, this is going to be real nice. So finally, maybe 2 hours into the event, the show starts slowing down, right? But Dave kind of like snakes his way on on the stage, sits at Robert's feet, kind of like at the edge of the stage, takes a mic, and just starts kind of sharing stories. Wow. Talking about what 2020 was for them. The Black Lives Matter movement, all this death, personal loss, COVID, the election, man. They're just talking, sharing stories. And then, you know, the band's just riffing. He's just telling Robert, like, hey, Robert, play this song. And they start playing it. Play that song, they start playing it. Everyone's just having a good time, telling jokes. Dave then calls Common and Talib Kweli back on stage, and he calls Chris Rock on stage. They're on stage, just making jokes, sharing stories, dude. And then what was incredible is they started doing a cover of Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time.
Oh,
like a jazz, like hip-hop version of it.
Whoa.
Dave's singing, like, you know, if you lost and you look and you will find me. And the crowds, time after time. In between, Talib Kweli, Common, Chris Rock, they're all just freestyling.
Oh,
the band's going off.
Just,
and then
just riffing.
Just
jazz.
riffing, dude, for like an hour and a half. Riffing. I remember at one point, Dave Chappelle told everyone, like, yo, put your phones away, close your eyes, open your ears, and listen to the music. And you could hear a pin drop.
Oh,
dude, chills. I just remember feeling like, man, what the I remember feeling emotional. I was like, man, I'm back, dude. Like, I'm back this year. The rest of the year was rough, but I was like, what a way to come back.
Yeah, dude.
And it just reminded me. I was like, man, there's nothing like being around community. There's nothing like being around the arts. Yeah. There's nothing like New York City.
Yeah.
And it was just, and so, you know, that was last year, but I carry that with me till now, dude. I just feeling like, you know, it's one of those things where you see on YouTube and you're like, dude, like, you know, those like, oh, this crazy thing happened, and you see it on YouTube like a few years later. I remember being like, man, I was there though, and that to me was like, I got it recorded. I filmed some of it, but I was like, I'm not posting, I'm not sharing it. It's for me, dude. It's for me. I'll take it.
Wow.
And so, took that with me into this year, and then just seeking mental clarity, man. Like this year, just 2 days ago, I deactivated my Facebook, deleted my LinkedIn, switched my Instagram from business to personal to lose the analytics. I was like, I don't want to think about this.
Do you find yourself like looking at them sometimes?
I just, you know, and it's good sometimes, right? You want to know what's happening, who's coming from where.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
But I remember like when work kind of gets slow around the winter time in film, all of a sudden I found myself being like, oh, this posted really well, so I hope my next one does as well.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it too much. And I'm like, you know, man,
just comparing everything.
I just sort of closed it off. I went private for a few days. I was like, I'm just going to start off 2020 proactive, productive, positive, mental clarity.
Wow.
And so 3 days in, so far so good.
Yeah.
You know, today I just sat down, was working on some script stuff, some writing stuff, looking forward to other projects I'm shooting as a cinematographer, and I was like, you know, we're going to make 2022 a good one. So so far so good, man.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, what's the state of your life right now? Like, how do you feel about where you're at?
Oof.
It's a deep question.
Yeah.
Kind of a wide open question. But
In all honesty, man, I feel kind of like I'm floating. Like, I'm kind of like grasping for whatever's around me, but it's not in a bad way. It's in a way that's like, I'm trying to just see like what's next. You know, there's a lot of life stuff happening right now.
Okay.
My mom's getting married in like a month, which is cool.
Mom.
Congrats, mom. Shout out. She's getting married, so that's kind of like a big life change happening.
Yeah.
My dad and his my stepmom and my stepsisters, they're looking to move back to Portugal soon. So they're gonna be leaving the country. So that's kind of like a thing of like, oh snap, mom's getting married, dad's going this way.
Whoa.
My sister's having another child this month in like a few weeks.
So you're gonna be uncle again.
So be uncle again, and then my brother's sort of like finishing up school and kind of doing his thing.
Got you.
And it feels like, you know, the universe is kind of like, all right, now what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of like, oh man, I wasn't planning on thinking about this, you know, and it kind of it's making me think about it. And so I think it's good things. I'm thinking just about like what's next career wise, personal wise, happiness, my being me outside of what I do. That's something big I've been thinking about.
That's
like,
huge, man.
You know, because I feel like for so long I just think about I am what I do.
Right.
I'm trying to separate that a little bit. And
I love this.
Remember, I'm you know, trying to be as multifaceted
For
as
sure,
possible.
for sure.
Not necessarily career wise or just like, you know.
Yeah, living.
Yeah, living
Life.
life. So it feels like I'm floating. I'm trying to like just find where's next, but it's exciting. It's always a little nerve wracking.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for
But
sure.
it's mostly exciting.
For sure.
It's like, okay, soon like is gonna be like an open palette, an open page, blank page of like I do what I want.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I just have to make those steps.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah,
overall.
man.
If, you know, if you're not nervous, it's not a good thing, right? So.
Yeah, I can see that, dude. I definitely relate. Like the last year, the year before specifically was like crazy, and I found myself in this crazy state of transition. I found myself again at the end of the year in this like semi-crazy state of transition. I was telling Mikey about it, but like a lot of my friends are moving, leaving around here, you know, and it made me think of like the chapter of my 20s, you know, and this creative boom was happening.
Sure.
And I was finding out who I was creatively and growing into what I think I want to do the rest of my life, and never felt more alive in this like back nine of my 20s, you know. And then, you know, I turned 30, 31, people start leaving. I changed my path, whereas I'm not like going out for auditions and creatively like try to jump in someone else's thing, but make my own thing.
Yeah.
And go that route. You know, open a production company and find out who I am outside of it, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you introduce yourself as like you know, when people ask me, oh, what do you do? I say, actor. You know, what do you do? And it's like, is that who I am?
Yeah.
It's something I do.
Yeah.
But who's Dave? Who's Mike? Who's Matt?
Yeah.
You know, like we're deeper than just that. Like,
right.
And I think I leaned in too far, I think, to if I'm not doing this successfully right now, and there's not evidence of it, I can't grow it, I can't give it away, I can't, you know, show it and prove it. Yeah. Then I'm nothing.
Right. Right. Because we love what we do, and we love it so much. And I think, you know, in the arts, with everything we do, music, film, photography, whatever, it's so ingrained to like you and your eye, you and your voice, you and your mind, that all of a sudden, like this idea of like any amount of success is tied to like who you intrinsically are because of what we create. And I feel like that's the thing that kind of plagues our mind a little bit. And so, you know, you think about like who I am. I think all the time, if I didn't do what I did, if tomorrow I lost my eyesight, then I couldn't be a cinematographer. And you ask me like, who are you? What do you do? What am I going to say? You know? And I think a lot about, there's this film, The Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Oh, I saw it.
Yeah. There's that one. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Have you seen it? I won't say too much, but there's one scene where this one character is doing a one-man play.
Yes.
Like for a group.
Yes.
And they're talking about a character in the film, not really a big role, so a character who passed in the film, and like one of the side guys. And he's performing like a monologue, he's playing two different characters, and then the play ends and he's asking everyone like, who was this person for you? I may be paraphrasing, and someone said, oh, you know, a soccer coach said, oh, he used to help me after school, you know, get all the soccer balls and clean up the field. Someone else said, oh, he helped me with my homework. He took me out on a date. Someone else said, oh, he used to beat me up as kind of a bully. And just like a plethora of things. I remember the character, I forget the character name, but it's played by Jonathan Major. He says like something along the lines of, well, what if we let him be all those things? Oh. You know? Yeah. Everything. I was like, dude, like, and that made me think like, man, I gotta let myself be all these things. Yeah. Because outside of what I do, I'm, you know, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a musician, I'm a friend, you know, and arguably those things will hopefully last longer than what I do.
Bro, I always say it. When I did a thing years ago, and I was walking around. The set was a cemetery, so I worked there for like a few days and got to know the guys there, and like all I would do is spend my time there. And when I'm walking around reading these headstones and just you know, imagining things and, you know, going through it, and I'm each one. It doesn't say. You know, I'd say 99% of these headstones said, "Beloved Father," you know, loved daughter, son, brother. You know, it was the relationship is the thing they put on the headstone.
Yeah.
What you meant to somebody else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That lasts.
Right.
But also, we're influenced by the work we admire.
Totally.
Yeah. That kind of formulates like what we do.
Yeah.
You know, you were inspired, and I wanted to ask you this: like growing up, what was it that kind of like got you into music, which then got you into storytelling, like cinematography? You know, or was it back then you had an idea like, oh, maybe I want to shoot a thing one day, or was it like, I think I just want to be a musician, and then it turned into somehow, I want to frame stories.
Yeah. It probably just came from this like love of like the like more fantasy side of things. Like I was always interested in like Star Wars as a kid and Lord of the Rings and kind of this world that like just felt so like endless possibility. And as far as music, you know, my parents, my mom's from Brazil, my dad's from Portugal, and they always had their interest in music, but I feel like growing up as a first generation American, they didn't really introduce me to a lot of things. Like I hear stories of a lot of kids sort of like playing board games with their families. And we didn't have a single board game in our house. It just wasn't part of like custom tradition.
Yeah.
And now I'm like super into board games. I'm like, I never played this as a kid, you know? And they were always into music and movie. Oh, my mom more so. My dad was always just working, and he appreciated more of like time instead of like things. And my mom was more into like the things, as far as like she was really big into, you know, music and film, but she never really shared it with me. And I think it was not a conscious thing. I think it was just time and working, and you know, you come here to make a life for yourself and have a family. You work, and so I kind of like weaseled my way into this stuff kind of naturally. Like I heard Queen play somewhere, and I was like, "What was that?" Dude? And my mom's like, "Oh, I got Queen vinyl in the garage." And I was like, "Why aren't we playing it?" You know, or I find this movie I'm into. My mom was like, "Oh, I have the VHS in the garage," and so I found my mom. It's funny because I'm a bit of a collector now. I collect vinyl, movies, books.
Gotcha.
My mom, boxes of unopened VHSs, boxes of books, CDs, vinyl.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
And so my guitar teacher when I was a kid, you know, I started off guitar, went to bass and drums.
Yeah.
My guitar teacher as a kid was super influential, and he gave me like a record player. And he's like, "Hey, you know, here's a couple records, try it out." It was a real vintage one. I brought it home. My mom was like, "I got so much vinyl in the garage."
What?
Pulled out, we're listening to Queen, dude. And I'm just like, listening to like, you know, News of the World for the first time. I'm like, this is crazy on like vinyl. And so music was a big part of my life. And then through there, I think just the fantasy elements, music videos, and I don't 100% know where film came in. Photography was a big thing for me. We had like a family camera that shot video.
Oh wow.
And so I picked it up and started shooting some photos, and I always liked watching movies. And even at a young age, I was like, I think I want to work on movies. Like, I don't know. I thought movies were like willed into existence. Like someone just gives you a movie, and I'm like, oh great, like the movie gods helped us, you know. But then I remember like doing some research and be like, oh right, you people make these things, and you know, where I got my first sort of foray into it was I was in a band in high school, and we were too like broke to afford music videos, so used a family camera and made a music video. Yeah. And then I was like, oh okay, and I put it together, I edited it, I was like, okay, cool. And then I did it again with the next band, and then other artists started to be, other bands we were tight with was like, oh, you direct music videos, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. You know, no idea what was happening, and then started directing music videos. And
this is when you're in high school?
This is like, that was starting into high school into like early college. Okay. So by the time I was a freshman, sophomore, I was like saving up my money. I bought like an A7S, and I was just like shooting music videos. Yeah. And then I remember just being really into things, and then being like, I'm gonna make my own short film. And then I just made a short film, and I was like, okay, this is dope. And then strangely, a lot of musicians have a funny way of becoming filmmakers too. Really? Yeah, that's what I found. Like a lot of DP friends of mine were former drummers, or a lot of guitarists end up being like directors, and then I started making shorts for like musician friends that I knew through the music scene. Gotcha. And then all of a sudden, people will call me and be like, "Oh, you're a director of photography. You're a cinematographer." Because someone else directed. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Wow. And then sort of that's just where it all happened. Okay. You know? And so it all came through music. I always think like, if I never met this one kid, Matt Whipple, shout out Matt Whipple. He changed my life, dude. Showed me some like heavy metal music when I was a little kid, and I was like a classic rock head. Showed me this band called Under Oath that I was just like, changed my life. Wow. And and we were just in bands. He was in my first band with him, and I went to a super small private school. And I always think, like, if I never was 15 years old playing drums in like a heavy metal band, playing with like other 20-something-year-olds and being forced to like communicate and talk and network, all that from when I was 15 translates to now working in film. And that's where I got my first taste of community, man. Like being a part of something, and you wanted to be a part of it. You wanted to give back. And so now that I like I said with the Robert Glasper story, that musical experience, even though I'm not doing music anymore, I carry that with me. Being part of this band, communicating and creating, like I carry that with me, and that's still there. And whenever I meet other filmmakers that were like musicians and bands and touring, like there's like a common like, oh, we get it, like
sure.
that trained us for this,
for sure.
And
sick.
Yeah, man,
That's crazy.
Music.
It really all just like led up to this point. Huh?
Yeah. And you think of the Matt Whipple homie. If he doesn't introduce you to that band, it's like, where are you,
dude? Yeah.
Where are you?
If he used to be homeschooled and then he came to our school.
Wow.
If his mom decided not to put him in the school, wait a year, whatever, I would have totally missed it, dude. Wow. I would have missed it. Maybe eventually in some form something would have happened, but the way it did, which I think was the way it had to happen, would never happen.
I think about that a lot.
That dude changed my life, man.
That
dude.
Bananas.
And then you always meet people like I say Jordan Kalani. Those guys changed my life.
Oh, for sure. Shout out
those guys.
Shout out. Those two are beautiful people.
Yeah, man.
Right there.
And you just think about there's like I don't know. There's like I think every chapter you go through, just people just change your life.
Absolutely.
And it always comes back to this. And in those guys, I can share music with them. And I feel like in some weird way, I'm living music through the people that I worked with, and all these friends and homies that are in bands are still touring, got signed, and which another part of it. I used to shoot music videos for homies. They got signed to labels. We had money, and then people saw those labels. So it all grew from there. Yeah. I feel like even though I haven't, played in a band, played a show in a few years, I'm kind of like living through them. And to me, that's my contribution back to the music scene. Because I also never want to give up on it. I want to keep going back as much as I could.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I love that, dude. It's not like you're dependent on it, but it's something you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes, because like we're in the process of, I hate saying it. I hate saying chasing the dream, right? Or chasing our dreams, but like that's kind of what it is. Yeah. And you are the one that says when that stops.
Mm-hmm.
The more I boil it down, I'm like, I got real down a couple years ago, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, dude, the whole industry shut down, man. Like, it's over, dude. I was supposed to film 2 films this summer in LA. It was things were looking good, and we got all this funding, and everything was great. And then I was like, there's no jobs.
Yeah.
So now what? The dream's over. I gotta get a real job. I gotta switch it up.
Yeah.
And I talked to my wife about it, and I talked to my therapist about it. Got a therapist. She was just like, why stop? Like, it's gonna. You transition. You change your form a bit. Like, it's not gonna happen the way you thought.
Yeah.
Almost nothing ever does, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I say when it stops. I get off the train.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You write your own story.
Right. And as long as I get to tell a story in some way, I don't care if I'm doing like community theater when I'm like 60, man. Like
totally.
I love telling a story so I can like move somebody.
Yeah.
And then it helps me like feel like I'm of service in some way.
Absolutely.
And I think that's like, I believe in God. That's what God kind of led me down this path to do.
Yeah.
And it's just where I find myself at 31, man.
Totally, dude. The like I think about a lot about, for me, whenever I'm feeling down, I feel like I receive my positivity by giving positivity. And I hope to do that through art, because I remember, for me, I always felt like films were more of a hideaway than anything else. Like for this amount of time, for this whatever, music, film, whatever performance, you're just like escaping for a little bit.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like that's the biggest act of service I could ever do with my abilities.
Wow.
My God-given talent of like, this is what I do, and all I can do is create and hopefully give you something to escape with, attach to, feel something. To me, the most beautiful films are the ones that feel like a hug. And those. And so if I can do any
it's a
little,
wonderful life.
Yeah, dude, if I can do any little bit of that for someone, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I remember someone told me a while ago, I forget who it was, but something along the lines of like, if you plan on doing this for a really long time, if not the rest of your life, whatever it is, this meaning anything, then what's a few years? What's a few years of the grind? What's a few years of going back to school? What's a few years of moving away? What's a few years of trying something new? What's a few years of like it not working until it does?
Yeah.
And I remember I heard that and I was like, what's a few years?
What's
man?
a few years?
Like all the people we look up to, way into their 40s, 50s, by the time they're actually starting to like really do it.
Yep.
And why are we here in our 20s and 30s being like, man, I'm not quite doing it, and it's one of those things of like, it just, I don't know, time is really daunting when you look ahead, and when you look back, you're like, where did it all go?
Dude, I think, that's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
is not do this or that. I'm just trying to be here with you at this table.
Yeah,
that's what the podcast was built for. That's what we do. We try to do, but like, I'm trying to do that every day, as long as I can. And it sounds simple, but it is like the hardest thing to do.
It is
super hard.
And I find when I'm doing it, when I'm doing the thing, telling a story with a bunch of the homies, and it's something I'm there.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm dancing. Like it's just the most beautiful thing, and we're sharing in this moment that we'll never get again, and it's beautiful. Totally. And we're gonna create it. We're in the midst of creating a thing together. So it's easy for me to remember that while I'm working, and it's hard for me to remember that my day to day. You ever stop and smell the roses? Do you have trouble doing that? Or are you good with
all
that?
All the time. I feel like I'm not picking up on something until it's behind me. I gotta backstep a little bit, or sometimes I feel like, because I was talking to a life coach friend of mine. There's like different kinds of way people deal with stress, right? People, when something stressful is happening, they go head on. Yes. That's one type. They all have titles I don't remember, but someone goes head on. Someone else is more victim mentality, like, oh, woe is me. Someone else does this. I'm the avoidant. Like if there's stress coming, like I go this. I'm like,
run
no,
away. Yes.
I pretend you don't exist, and so I feel like I'm often like avoiding certain things. I'm just like, if I don't think about it, it's not there. I'm just gonna do my thing. And then what I find myself not thinking about is like the stuff that really matters, or sometimes I'm thinking so hard about this accomplishment, this goal, this thing I'm trying to reach, that I'm like, I miss out on the little things, and I'm a detail oriented person. So if I'm missing out on these details that really add to the big picture, which is often not like the things I think it is.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Meaning like, like I think that for me to reach this bigger picture, let's say the big picture for me is, I want to be a represented cinematographer shooting feature films that go in theaters. I might think like, and a part of it is true, like, okay, the detail things is I gotta, work on this movie and get into this film festival and meet this agent, do this, and all these little details, which is true, like there's a part of it. But really, like, what's gonna make me a valuable collaborator on your films is like living my life.
Bang.
Being like, like you present to me a film about two brothers or a film about a father and son or something. If I spend too much time chasing the other thing, and I missed out on my relationship with my brother or my brothers or my relationship with my father, then what am I to do? I'll make your movie look good, but it's going to feel hollow.
Yes. Yes.
And that's something that I've just been constantly reminding myself of, like, right, the thing that makes me valuable is not always how my stuff looks, which is important. You want it to, look right, but it's like what I can bring to the table.
Yeah.
And if I can bring something that visually represents the emotional resonance you're trying to capture, because I close myself off from like smelling the roses,
who you are,
then you're not getting it, dude.
Yeah, bro.
And then all of a sudden, people will look at the movie and be like, "Oh, it looks good," but like, the last thing I want to do, it's nice people recognize good work, and when people say, "Oh, movie looks beautiful," but if I distracted you from it, then I fail.
Right. Jordan mentioned this, dude.
Yeah.
Jordan mentioned the same thing.
It's true. Obviously, like I see someone's work and I'm like, oh, I can recognize something because we're filmmakers and we appreciate the craft. Right. But the second it's distracting me, then it was a misstep.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think as far as smelling the roses, dude, I may not be the most proficient with my lighting. Maybe I'm not the best at framing, whatever. But I stopped and smelled the roses. I thought about this. I connected with something mentally, emotionally, spiritually that brings something new.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I can present that to you and be like, this is what I have to offer.
Right.
Then, like, the value of your film, not the dollar value, but the emotional value, through the roof.
I think they're hand in hand, though. Dude.
Yeah.
I think the more, this is I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
The farther away I get from, okay, my agent says, but I need this agent. I need to get to that next rung of the career ladder, and then I'll be set, and then I'll be able to be on better sets and better stories and all this stuff. The farther away I get from that, the more I'm realizing that I don't need to act. I want to act. So I don't need to. I don't need to tell stories. I want to tell stories. I don't need to prove it to nobody.
Yeah.
About it, how good, bad, whatever. Sorry. The more I do it, the more I'm like, or the more I remove myself from the rat race of it.
Yeah.
Me personally.
Totally.
That's just where I found myself these last few years, and I'm like, oh, I'm at peace. I'm not so stressed out.
Yeah.
Because I did that for a decade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it got me to where I'm at, and I'm grateful.
Yeah.
But like, I can go back and like think about what we did and be like, bro, I'm so glad everything turned out the way it was, and I'm so glad I'm not chasing the next thing, but enjoying the ride of this,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
In whatever form I'm doing it.
Yeah. I think like I'm trying to put this in like I've been thinking about this whole time.
It's hard to put in a word.
It's like I want to say it's like it really matters about what the purpose is, right? What you're making it for.
Yeah.
And like I feel like this whole ride is like the like I want to be this at this point, right? It's like we're putting a label on this thing, but labels aren't tangible. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And if you keep thinking about like I'm not at this level or this is the route, like it's basically a contradiction to the whole point of why you're doing this.
Yes.
You know, back in the day when you started making this stuff, started in music, you were just doing it because you wanted to do it.
You liked
and that was who you
yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Right.
You
and
fell into it.
I feel like essentially that's what the line we're trying to battle is like contradicting like why we're doing it.
It becomes
and
that.
Yeah.
It becomes that. I think
It's like you're always fighting that.
like you have
whole-
peers that we're all doing the
Yeah.
thing together, and when we're young, for me it was like this buzz, this energy of like I need to prove myself. I need my dad to love me and be proud of me.
Yeah.
I need to get really, really good at this so that I'm better than everyone else, so that I could get cast in the next thing. You know, it was like a competition, and it became like,
Right.
what the fuck? Why do I even do this thing?
Mm-hmm.
The you need yourself to be present to and know who you are to express your art.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're packaging a thing you think someone will like, which isn't you. It's artificial now.
Right.
And you lose that essence of you. You lose when you're shooting a thing in the moment, you need to be present for the moment.
Totally.
Because you're gonna, you know, you're finding something in the moment that you're dealing with humans.
Right. Right.
And that's life happening in front of you.
How often we've been on set that like
Exactly.
you had a shot list, you had an idea, and you just saw something play out, and you got to be like,
and something in you.
we're throwing this out.
Right.
It changed.
Something in you.
Something
was
just
saying.
changed. Yeah.
Man.
Something within me is being like, this is changing.
You're catching it.
Yeah.
You're catching something that you can't plan for. Almost.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember, what was it? Slightly different, but you mentioned catching. I think a lot about Alfonso Cuarón when he was interviewed for doing Roma.
Yes.
Roma was a big project for him, right? It's very personal, took years to make, and very tied to his personal young life. And I remember someone telling him, being like, "Oh, you must be so excited that you finally did this movie. You're excited." And then he goes, "Do you ask the fox that's being hunted if he's excited?" He's relieved. He goes, "I'm relieved, man.
Whoa,
I'm relieved." And he was saying how in the moment you're giving so much of everything, and when you finally like press that final render and it's done and it's out and it's no longer yours, you're relieved. But in that moment, he's like, I'm running. And so it's a bit of a different analogy. Right? He's talking about a fox running away from something.
Yeah.
But I think about like running after something.
Yeah, man.
You know? And I just never forget when he was like, it's like, no, he's like, whatever you think it is, it's really something a little bit different. And I feel like that's, when we get into the arts for the first time, get into whatever, we're like, it's going to be this.
Yeah.
And then you're in it, you're like, whoa, this is not what I thought it was, dude. And often in the best way, Yes. And I think also in heartbreaking ways. And,
for sure.
And I feel like the most beautiful things in the world are heartbreaking in all their own little ways,
Definitely.
And I remember when I first got into film, I was, everyone thinks film is the most glamorous thing. All of our friends are like, oh, you do, you make a podcast? That's so sick. And you don't see everything else we do with the podcast, or you acting is so dope.
Right,
and it is, but it's also like, it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and you carry that. And so, I don't know, there's something about like, everything that I always remind myself, like we think it's one thing and it's really another. And if I don't let myself like receive it, I'm going to miss it.
Yes, dude. There's this book. I read it last year that my wife got for me. It's like a children's book. It's like, I forget. I'm gonna butcher it.
Yeah.
But it's like the fox, the horse, the mole, and something. Okay. And it's a bunch of illustrations. And it was like book of the year last year or something. So I'm reading it, and the thing I walked away from, one specific thing was, I remember real vividly, was there was the horse and like the fox were in the woods, and they were lost, right? And I equate it to like kind of what you were talking about before. Like I'm floating.
Yeah.
I don't know what's coming next.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like just keeping an eye out.
Yeah.
And the fox got real nervous and he's like, I don't know how to get out of the forest. I'm scared.
Mm-hmm.
And the horse said, can you see your next step in front of you?
Mm-hmm.
He said, yeah, I can. And he goes, well, if you do those enough, you'll find your way up. And it's just that simple. It's like if you focus on just what's in front of you, like the place you're at, and you don't look ahead too far, you won't get scared and you won't get lost. And like, I don't know, people probably ask you for advice all the time, like young DPs or young directors or whatever, and they come to you and they're like, you've been doing this for a while, you're a successful dude, I'm a fan of yours, like, what do I do? How do you tell someone what to do?
Yeah. I'm still figuring it out. Like, we're all figuring it out, right?
Man. We're all in the process of going through the forest. And, like, I can tell you what my next step is, like, maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
I can tell you where I'm at today.
I can look back and be like, this is some mistakes I made, some missteps, here's some good stuff.
Yeah.
But that's why I try to remind everyone. Like, I used to teach, and I just tell my students, like, every journey is so uniquely different.
Totally.
And you can look at, like, models for things of, like, inspiration or, like, oh, interesting. This person came from this, unorthodox route of being a filmmaker, whatever. But like once you try to like follow something, then you're missing it. Because then all of a sudden, I might see your work and not see you in it, and that's dangerous, right? And that's like then what's the point?
What's the point?
What's the intention?
What's the point?
Yeah.
Are you able to watch movies right now without going to cinematography mode?
Yeah, again,
you can sit down and not think of lighting or nothing.
I always appreciate it. I always notice something. Yeah. A frame will always be like, if there's just a good frame that makes me feel kind of way, I'm like, that's a great frame.
Yeah.
But the first time I watch a movie, I usually am watching it just for the movie. Okay. Like I'm watching it for story, I'm watching it for plot, I'm watching it for performance, for feeling. As I get more and more into my career, I kind of like, I don't know. My perspective on viewing films have kind of changed. I used to be the kind of person who I would watch something and then if something kind of bummed me out or I wasn't super stoked on it, I kept thinking about like, oh, if only they did this or did that or did this. Which it's fair, but the more I make movies, the more I realize making movies is hard, man. and then
dude, it's so hard.
I made this active choice at some point late last year of like, I'm gonna stop thinking about movies as like what they weren't.
Wow.
And think about movies as what they are.
What they are.
And I'm also I'm super in love with I think more than anything else for me, the experiencing of a medium. Like I'm a big fan of like a painter like Mark Rothko. And someone can look at it being like, oh, it's just a bunch of colored squares and lines and at its face value, it is that, right? But I remember seeing a Mark Rothko for the first time in person, and just like seeing the way the light bounced off of it, seeing how gigantic it was, the brush strokes, the differential of like it was a dark gray surrounded by even like darker gray, and from a distance it looked like one color, but as I got closer, it revealed itself to me, and I'm like, all right, the experiencing of a medium. Or there's this movie that I just love to death. A Ghost Story.
Oh, dude. Come on now, doggy. Hold on.
This movie changed everything.
That
movie. And so I see that movie, and I have some friends who jokingly are like, "Oh, it's a great movie. They just forgot the plot." And I'm like, yes and no, maybe. It's the way you take it. That's fine.
Again, back off, guys. Come on, man.
Take it easy. Yeah. But like, I remember watching that movie and the way I felt and what it did for me, emotionally. Yep. Spiritually, mentally, just everything it did for me.
Sat with you, right?
Sat with me forever. I like didn't want to get up. I just stayed with it. And I remember the thing that I walked away from that movie thinking is like everything that I wish to accomplish in my career as a filmmaker, emotionally, as far as what I can give to someone, is 100% possible. Wow. Because this movie did it for me. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, sir.
It is what. And so I remember I saw that and I was like, everything that I hope to give in my work, which for me, I think. I just want to make movies that don't make people feel so alone. Yeah. Movies that make people feel hope. And I like darker stories. I like stories that get into things, but I want people to, more than anything, just feel, right? And the way that movie made me feel, it was like, dude, whatever I want to accomplish at whatever scale is 100% possible.
Yes, agreed.
That movie showed it to me. Agreed. And I think about that all the time. And Ghost Story, dude. Love that.
What was it? What's one takeaway from that movie? Because I have one. But what was something that you walked away with? That like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know
there's
how
so
you
many.
The first thing. So there's so many amazing things. I love just like the cycle of time, and when he goes from the beginning to the end. and then gets back to where he was. And that was beautiful. Man. The thing that I always think about, for some reason, was early in the movie when the Rooney Mara character, Rooney Mara is my favorite actress, Rooney Mara character and the Casey Affleck character, I think they go by C and M in the script.
Casey's a beast, dude.
They hear the noise for the first time, the piano hit, and they come back to bed, and the camera just lingered on them, just like it was one of the most what's the word I'm looking for, like intimate things I've ever seen without having to get into sex or kissing or touching or like this Hollywoodification of anything. It was just like two people loving, being there. Camera paused, took its time, didn't feel the need to come away. You know what I mean? And so I think about that all the time. I think about just like the quiet, like the patience, her eating the pie scene.
The lasting shots, man.
Yeah. And I remember a quick story I have about that before I go off on a tangent. I saw it for the first time with my director friend Ryan. Shout out Ryan.
Shout out.
We saw it in a theater. I think it was Cineplex or was it one of the Angelica, some theater in the city. It was great. We loved it. We're just like, wow, we just feel so affected by it. On the drive home, we were just like not talking to each other. We're just like, let's just like let this sit, you know? And then so Ryan and his wonderful partner Ariel, he co-directed a film in Ireland that we shot together that our homies Jordan Kalani came with us. And we got to Dublin maybe a week before we were shooting for some prep work, right? We were shooting in Galway on the other side of the country.
Dude, I'm so jealous.
I know.
Was it beautiful there?
Life-changing.
Yeah.
It was life-changing. It was beautiful, man. It was beautiful. I only wish I could like go back now knowing what I do.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit better. Shoot just a little bit better. But I remember we were there and Ariella hadn't seen it by then. And we were like, oh, we got to go see it again. And they were showing it at the BFI, which is their like local theater, film community, kind of like an AFI thing here.
Got it.
And it's in a remodeled like castle or mansion kind of thing. You go up a spiral staircase to like Theater 7, and we walked in and we sat down. I remember sitting down and looking at there was like an older couple sitting in the front just like reading books during the trailers. There was like two younger kids to our right. There was a guy by himself to the left and someone behind us. It was like the weirdest mix. There was like 8 people in the theater. And you know, the movie comes on, we watch it, and then this time when it gets to the Rooney Mara, the scene when she's eating pie and she's grieving, it just like hit all of us like a wave. And I remember everyone in the theater collectively started crying. And I remember looking at Ariel and I'm like, she's crying, Ryan's crying, I'm crying, those people are crying, and I was like, oh, we just had a moment, and we're gonna like this is. I remember, and then the movie ended, and then, you know, people kind of like started getting up. I just remember just feeling so affected. I'm like, I just like witnessed something for the second time, got something totally new out of it. I'm somewhere else in the world right now, and just feeling like, oh wow, like again, this film just keeps proving to me over and over again that the experiencing of a medium, what it makes me feel, is entirely possible.
Wow,
it was beautiful, man.
And it connected all of you guys in the room at that same moment.
It did, and that moment, like so often, even stuff I'm working on now. We'll be talking about a scene with a director or an actor, talk about a moment, and then I'm kind of like, I'm trying to find words to, you know, you always look for words to quantify a feeling, and that's how difficult is that. And I remember sometimes I'll just equate it to be like, I'm thinking just like a quiet stillness, and I'll be like, have you seen a ghost story? and they're like, I get it. And it's like, oh, okay, we get it. Like that's like we're like let's chase that.
Every film I've ever like set out to make, I think I've said that every single time.
Dude.
I think, have you seen a ghost story?
Yeah, dude.
I'm kind of like showing Jordan like clips of it.
Dude,
I remember I first saw that. Like I didn't know anything. Dude. I watched it and I immediately I think messaged you or called you, and I was like, "Have you seen this?"
You did.
I was like, "This is a you movie,
a couple years
dude."
ago. Yeah, you said exactly.
I was like, "This is a you movie."
The thing
amazing.
That I thought was just one of the many things I thought was genius about the film was I love use of time. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah,
the way people manipulate time in film, and I think from the beginning, using the crack in the wall and the story of the notes.
Yeah.
With Rooney Mara's character with the father.
Yeah.
And her leaving one before she moves out of the house. And his whole fucking... Sorry, I'm not going to curse on this podcast anymore, dude.
I'll hold you to it.
Okay. I'm not doing this. 2023.
I'll shut this whole thing down.
I'll shut it down, dude. Next F is down. We're done. Leaving a note in the crack in the wall, and that's being the thing that he can't move away from until he knows what's on the note.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And by the end, like, he gets this window.
Yeah.
He's an unrelenting protagonist who's a ghost.
Yeah.
You know,
Doesn't
flying
say
through
anything.
time, can't say
No
anything.
one can see him.
Dude,
He sees everything.
And by the end, he gets that window. He's won, and he gets to the crack in the thing, and he fishes it out. And we don't know what the note is.
Yeah.
I thought that, and he does, and he's poof.
Yeah.
Moved on.
Yeah.
I thought that was. It gets me emotional now.
Yeah.
I think it's just brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. We didn't have to know.
Totally. And in the way they shot it too, you know, you shoot things sort of out of order. Rooney, the director David Lowery, told Rooney, write something, put it in the thing, and then
that's brilliant.
Then they demolished the house.
That's brilliant.
No one but Rooney knows what it says.
Dude, that's the thing that's, in my opinion, separates the dudes who, or the people who do it at a level from the people that don't. Yeah. That's my opinion. Yeah. That's a touch of who you are. Yeah. You know, any chance you get to do that, you gotta do it.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Mike? You got a moment from that movie?
I think definitely the near the end.
Let's make a movie, guys.
I know,
Come on,
right?
man. I'm psyched up.
I think definitely that like that near the end where it shows like all the overtime that same place.
Yes.
It's like the young the girl and the family, like the primitive,
pioneers,
right.
Oh,
and it's the same like
they get murdered.
Yeah, and it's the same corpse,
and like he's stuck to this one place until he can let go.
Yeah,
and he's going through time.
It just shows you like
the city builds up.
Yep.
Oh,
everyone
man.
through time has been through this kind of shit. You know what I mean?
It made me feel this big.
Yeah.
Watching it.
Yeah.
Like how finite our life is.
But also, I don't know, it made me feel how special like
a
things are
beautiful
for us,
life is
you know?
because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But at the same time, you feel this big, but also this ghost that no one can see, can't leave, is like
says
a tall
nothing.
ghost, says nothing. He's like super tall and filling up the frame, right? But also the frame's wide, and the movie's just got so many. I'd love to hear what are some things lately you guys seen that just like.
Bro, I just saw Licorice Pizza.
Yeah, we saw it together.
Ooh, I haven't seen that yet.
Legendary.
Haven't seen it? Okay,
Oh,
don't say
bro.
nothing.
I heard it's.
Don't say nothing.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Nothing to do with the movie and what happens in the movie. But that's the first time in a long time where I've been in the theater. We were at the Lincoln Center AMC in the city, and I felt connected to everyone in the theater.
Wow.
And it was like I was like 10 years old again.
Yeah. Special.
You know, like when you used to go to the theaters back in the day and they were packed and there was a block or whatever.
Totally.
And everyone's laughing and crying at the same time. So like we were talking about.
Yeah.
It was just a beautiful, like everyone was in unison, like experiencing it together. And I felt so connected to everyone in the room. I felt like we were in the 1999.
Yeah.
You know, like I felt like that's
like
what
the time in the movie, you know?
Yeah. Or like the 70s. Yeah.
And like the whole time, like I could not stop.
Wow.
Dude,
It was smiling.
Dude, it was a cool ride. It was a very cool ride, but I'll stop
That's
there.
cool.
And also like the
PTA.
it also shows you PT has to be the goat.
He's a G.
Yeah, he's up there.
But like just shows how like at that age and like at that level, like he's like, and the story of like why he made it, the film for the girl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
he wrote this.
Wait. What's why?
He wrote it like for that girl.
For what girl?
The lead.
The Haim sister.
Yeah,
Alana Haim.
yeah.
No.
I thought his personal.
Yeah, for the sister.
Okay, gotcha.
But like, and it started from being like, oh, I want to make a music video for you.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, oh, but Disney's like, let's just make a movie.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I don't know, man. Something about that. It's like,
you like Linklater?
It's
at all?
beautiful.
You mess with him?
I like Linklater. I haven't dived too deep into his stuff.
Okay.
I appreciate it a lot. School of Rock is one of those, and obviously Days Confused. But I think he's someone who I think, in just the way I view it, like takes this like daunting pressure off of films often, and just you know what I mean. And I think there's drama in his films, and there's like a collective thing that we can relate to, and this heaviness. But there's something about him that's very just like, and I don't want to say free spirited, but you know what I mean. Like, just has
he's a
this like
type of dude from Texas, you know, from Austin.
and doesn't feel the need like, you know, he'll make a movie like Last Flying Flag, and that's very like about veterans and war and like this sort of heavy stuff. And then he'll go off and make Everybody Wants Some. And
it's
then
weird, right?
And he'll do Boyhood, which is this 14-year project. And he's a filmmaker that in so many ways, I feel like we often look at people who are innovative and groundbreaking, and we think of like Nolan, Spielberg, you know, Denis Villeneuve, Tarantino. People are like doing things at like this bombastic level. Yeah. And then we always forget about like the street level kind of thing. And I think in his own way, the Before trilogy, right? Just like doing what he did there is like groundbreaking.
Yeah.
But it's not like big explosive. It's not Spider-Man groundbreaking.
Yeah,
it's not that.
Yeah.
It's like a different thing. It's,
Totally.
It's in here groundbreaking.
Totally. I think it just reminded me of what Mike was saying about like why he made the story. The thing with the Before Sunrise story about like he met a girl when he was younger.
Yeah.
And then he like lost touch with her and found out she died.
Yeah.
And he's like, what would have happened if we,
Yeah.
you know, did the what if?
Yeah.
It just tells a beautiful story.
Yeah.
And then using time.
Yeah. Is it at all shocking that those movies feel real?
Oh, bro.
You know what I mean? Like, is it at all surprising?
No, man. We all relate to that.
Are you guys Mike Mills fans?
Huge?
Okay.
Yeah.
You see Come On, Come On?
I haven't seen it yet. Are we talking top film of his, or what are we
Beginners is up there.
Okay.
I love Beginners.
I do too.
20th Century Women is beautiful.
Loved it.
Come On, Come On. My favorite of the year so far.
Wow.
Mike Mills, I think, makes film. Like, I see his movies. I feel like he makes them for me. Like, he's such a touching, human, sensitive guy, and makes real.
Yeah.
He said Beginners was, you know, a film about his father.
Yeah.
And 20th Century was a film about his mother.
Dude, he's such a sensitive dude.
Yeah.
I that's like my that's my DNA. Like I want to meet guys like that. I want to work with dudes like that.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
yeah,
I'm so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to share it with you.
Well, dude, going into Come On, Come On, I think by the time he has a son, I think his son's reaching an age now, and Come On, Come On is a story about an uncle and a nephew. But he says a story. He talks about he was giving his son a bath, and he's looking at his son. He's like, I think I want to make a movie about you. Right. Yeah. And it's touching, dude. And the movie, and I, you know, me being an uncle and having nephews in connection, watching, and you know, it's like the way it's shot, it's so beautiful. It's really stunning. It's touching. But there's like different. He's also such a poet with like.
Oh, he is.
His words, knowing what to say, when to say, and his appreciation for like other things and like other, like, not a spoiler, but he introduces like different pieces of literature into this film as like voiceover. And there's like segments they read from different books, and there's a scene where the character reads an excerpt from a children's book, and it's Star Child. And I don't want to say because I want you to experience it, but it's like the excerpt he reads from a children's book, and it's one of the most profound things about life and death I've ever heard. And I remember like pausing it and being like, I need to rewind what I just and play it again. Finish the movie. I'm weeping by the end. Yeah. I settled down and I went back to that scene. I'm like, I got to hear it one more time. And then I found the quote online. I started just texting to random people being like, yo, read this. And yeah, it's Star Child by, I forget the name of the writer. And some friends were like, oh yeah, I remember that book as a kid. And I was like, read it again. Yeah. And it's beautiful. Yeah, Come On, man, it felt like the movie I needed for last year. Dude,
I'll tell you the last movie I think I needed that I watched. It's unpopular opinion, but and this was years ago, like 3-4 years ago. When Honey Boy came out, you remember that movie?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I haven't.
Okay, so
I haven't, but I'm a big Shia fan, big Alma Harrell fan.
Yeah, I won't give it away, man, but it it deals with the son and the father. Yeah. And I was going through at the time and continue to go through things, you know, with my family and my father and stuff, and it just had, by the end of the film, I was sitting in the theater, bro, and like it cleared out, and I couldn't get up. Like I was sobbing into my chest, and my wife's like trying to get me up, and I haven't had a reaction like that to a film, bro. Wow. Like it erupted some traumatic, weird stuff. Yeah. Like therapy. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know I needed it, but I definitely needed to watch that. Yeah. Because it's like I'm learning as the years go on, like, you know, we all go through shit in life. We're all come up in some certain way where we're harmed in different ways. We take, you know, we bump into a wall and we're like, oh man, that hurts, and like you stuff it. It goes somewhere. Your body remembers it or whatever. Yeah. And but it shapes us. Yeah. You know, and those things that get buried sometimes come out in flashes and behavioral traits and the way you treat people, the way you treat yourself. Yeah. So I'm realizing as I get older, like that's the journey for me, is like find out what those things were. Yeah. Look them in the face. Yeah. And go through it and try to find a better way of dealing with it. Know that it exists. Like be aware first. And that's what films can do, man. Yeah. They have that power. And the journey is, you know, I always, whenever working on a movie and something's really tough, or, you know, maybe directors being really harsh on the crew and because they want the perfect movie, or something's happening, or people are really a lot of pressure, I often try to like simmer down and remind people around the crew, right, private or in public, like, remember, obviously you want to do something great. We want to accomplish something. We want to make a great movie. But what will last much longer than the end result
is the journey, right? The journey is often greater than the destination.
Yes.
And I often think like, yes, we want to do something good, but the second this is like no longer doing anything for me, then what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think about so often it's like it's about journeys, you know. And I haven't seen it yet, but I've been meaning to see Tick Tick Boom.
Oh,
Andrew
yeah.
Garfield.
Yeah. I haven't seen it
It's
either.
he plays Jonathan Larson, the guy who wrote and created Rent,
Right.
who sadly passed away on the night before or the night of the first preview of Rent.
I
And
didn't get to see it.
I never got to see what his play became. And so it's directed by Lin-Manuel
one of the
Miranda.
biggest.
Rent's still
Yeah.
the biggest,
The biggest
Broadway
one,
plays
right?
all
Yeah.
time. Is it the biggest?
It's
It's one of. It's
one
one,
of-
like
one of-
Phantom
one
of the
of-
Opera.
Yeah,
or
like
something.
one of the
Yeah,
biggest
yeah.
or longest running. It has like one of those
Yeah,
titles.
yeah.
So Andrew Garfield plays him, and he just talks about how like that film is constantly about this Jonathan Larson felt like he had this unfinished song that he was never going to finish, like
Yeah.
could never finish.
Wow.
And I don't know. I just think about like we're all gonna end up with an unfinished song. And
Yes.
you guys see the Andrew Garfield interview with
Yes.
Stephen Colbert,
Yes.
where he talks
Yes.
about so his mother passed away sometime last year, 2 years ago. So he's making Tick Tick Boom about Jonathan Larson and his unfinished song, while like singing his mom's unfinished song. I'm gonna cry thinking about it, dude.
Yeah.
And I don't know. He talked about he was just saying how like in this journey of life we all have a song we're writing,
Yeah.
and we are all gonna leave it in some form unfinished.
Yep.
And those who we leave behind will grief, but grief is the unexpressed love, and that's where the song, that's where the song continues.
The unexpressed love is the grief. Dude,
It's crazy, man.
he put it so beautifully, man.
Yeah,
And he really captured what it is to grieve. I
Yeah.
think. And I never thought of it that way. The unexpressed love
mm-hmm.
is what grief is. It's
Yeah.
the thing you'll never be able to express that love. Like it'll always be there. Like
Yeah.
when someone leaves us, it's that we
Mhm.
love. It's like
Yeah,
I can't get it out.
Yeah.
I will never be able to place it. Like
Yeah.
it'll always refill.
yeah.
And I always feel this like a bit of grief over
On
this.
one of the
Unfinished
one of the
song.
Marvel TV shows, one of the characters is talking with another character about grief, and he describes it as, what is grief if not love persevering?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah. And it just kind of hit me. I'm like, oh, in the same year, two different things talk about grief and connected it to love.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And,
Yeah, because it's a negative thing when you look at it for face value. You're
Mhm.
like, why do I feel so shitty?
right.
I don't want to fucking feel pain
Yeah.
like this. I don't want to hurt.
And all it is just love,
It's
like
love you
pushing through the
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah, man.
And growing pains, right?
Yeah.
As you grow and you develop into something new and someone new or whatever it is, like there will be pain attached to that.
Mhm.
But it's like, I mean, think about like, I guess an example would be like you're trying to get through like a kind of like a tight space,
Yes.
and you're pushing and like it hurts, but it's like, but you get through,
Yeah.
and that's the perseverance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like anything that to get to the other side is going to come with sacrifice
For sure.
and some sort of pain. And
For sure.
so I think about that a lot. And so Tick Tick Boom's been on my list.
Yeah.
I just love Andrew Garfield. I think
Yeah.
he's one of the finest actors we have
Bro,
today.
agreed.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you, for
Mhm.
Mike Mills, the reason I got into Mike Mills, I don't know if you saw, was a music video thing that
Yeah,
he did
yeah.
for the band The National.
Okay, was it with Alicia Vikander?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't seen it. I've seen the poster.
Let me tell you right
Yeah.
Is that
now.
the one you showed me?
Yes.
I think so, right? Yeah.
That music video.
Mm.
Did I cry? And I'm
Yeah.
31-year-old man.
Yeah.
Like I'm not an Alicia Vikander, right?
Mhm.
I can't relate on that one.
Mhm.
You know, he's a genius to me after
Yeah.
watching that. Poetic,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
visually using, spoiler alert, but
Mhm.
like he takes a life and you see it play out, but it's through Alicia. Just this is the genius I think
Yeah.
that some people
Yeah,
have.
yeah, yeah.
man. You see her as a baby and she's behaving as a baby, but it's
Mhm.
her.
Oh,
So we
wow.
see her
Got it.
as she is,
Yeah.
but she's behaving as a baby because
Yeah.
she's a baby.
It's one body, but the whole.
So
Wow.
you see her as an old woman, dude. It makes you think. That's what it does.
Mm.
It makes you think about
Yeah.
life, and like you look at an old person, you're like, that's they're on their way out and
Yeah.
sad, but like I understand
Yeah.
they're older. That's what we see.
Yeah.
Older than they pass usually, right?
Yeah.
But it's like that old person was this too. Like there's
Mm.
not many wrinkles here,
Right.
and there's not much wrinkly skin, and
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know. It was like a cool little
That sounds
package,
beautiful, man.
Yeah, man. It just made you. It stuck with me. It made me sit and like.
Yeah. Mike Mills
Think.
is one of those directors that I think, like people aren't going to realize what we had
I
until,
agree.
you know what I mean?
Mm.
I feel the same way about like Jean-Marc Vallée, who just sadly passed away.
Yeah.
Like people people don't realize what we had with that guy.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's too many artists and things that when we lose them sadly too soon, it's like, oh man, imagine how much more they had to give to the world. And the fact that like I think Mike Mills is a decently known name, right? A24 world, people see, but it's like I bring up like Beginners, and like not enough people know that movie, or I bring up like 20th Century, people know that one a little bit more, but it's like not enough people know. And it bums me out that like, you know, we're not gonna realize what we had until it's gone, you know. And so obviously he's not there yet, but it just makes me think like he's one of the ones that like I wish people just knew more, understood more, had more eyes on him. And there's so many like that. There's such a world of film that's under-recognized that I think, you know, and not all of it's meant to be the most recognized.
For sure.
That's fine.
For sure.
You know, but it's about those who do have a little something with them.
Bro,
you know?
I was thinking about today, you were commenting, I was like, you know, I was boxing this morning, and I was thinking, I met this fighter at the gym, and I'd kind of known him, but didn't really, and I was like, he had his first fight, and I said, you know, respect, man, you know, congrats. And I thought of that for some reason it correlated in my mind with storytelling, filmmaking specifically, or acting, going up, you know, saying I'm gonna act, and getting brave enough to like go out to an audition and then somehow book a play in the little college theater, and then getting up on stage in front of like 20 people. I'm like, bro, respect, man. Like, you know how fucking scary that is, man?
Yeah.
To say, I know what I want to do. I don't know how. It's probably going to be bad. I don't really know what I'm doing yet, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it in front of people. And I'm going to leave that there for you. Like that's why you pay the price of admission, if you do, or not.
Sure.
But you watch. And I took time for, like, you shared your time with me because I gave you mine. That's my service to you.
Yeah.
So respect, man. Like, early on, I was, like, so competitive, man. I felt like I had to be. Yeah. Came from, like, a sports background. I was like, this is the route.
Or even just the industry, like, naturally in a way that's not...
It's built that way.
It's built that way.
Yeah.
And, you know, you support
Film
your friends.
Right?
Yeah.
What awards are we going to win this time? Dude, I'm learning the only reason I like going to those things now is because I meet people I would never meet before in a place I would not usually go.
Yeah.
So I experience the culture of the place, the food of the place, stories about people from there. Yeah. And we share our stories together. Yeah. That's the only reason I want to go anymore. I don't want to win. I don't want to win any more awards for anything I do, for real. That's how I feel now where I'm at.
For sure.
Because I don't want to be a part of a race, man. Yeah. I don't want to function that way.
Yeah.
It takes away from my art.
Yeah, and it's always sweet to receive recognition.
So nice.
It's sweet.
So nice.
But every festival I've been a part of, I left before the award show.
Totally. I get it, man.
And then afterwards, if I win something, cool, man.
It's
great.
Very nice.
But I'm not going to be there hoping for it,
man.
You know? And I would much rather... you know, get stuck in a bar across the street with someone being like, hey, I saw your film.
Dude.
Or like, did I see you there?
Absolutely.
While there's a whole award show happening. That's fine. You know, and they can be there, and that's great. And you know, people win these awards, and it changes whatever. It's great for them, man. But it's like, I'd rather be somewhere else.
I think it only... I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say nothing about what you should or shouldn't do, but I'm just saying what I do. Yeah. And I had this thing happen... Sorry, Mikey. Are we good on time?
Yeah.
Okay. I had this thing happen with me in PA, in Reading. Yeah. When I went. You couldn't go to that one.
I know.
That's okay, though.
I regret.
But this woman was curating the Q&A after, right after the screening. And she stopped us as me and Carl were there, and she stopped us before we left, and she was like, can I talk to you guys for a second?
This is for Rose Garden or for I'll Meet You?
For I'll Meet You There, for the last one. So she's like, oh, you know, I just want to tell you, like, this really moved me. And I was like, wow, thanks for, you know, stopping and saying that. She goes, yeah. And she starts breaking down. She starts talking about her son, who she lost 2 years ago to cancer, which the film deals with. Wow. You know, it's a husband losing a wife. And she was, like, divulging all of this stuff to us in that moment. Like, I'll always have that moment. Yeah. I can't tell you really anything else. Like, most of that is kind of a blur. But that moment, like... she gave me something that day, and I gave her something that day, and that's what we worked for, and that's the award.
how much better is that than a little plaque you put on? How much better? This thing that's gonna go in a box when you move somewhere.
Yep.
Plaque,
dude.
man.
Yeah, there's this little award of a guy holding something. Like, and again, it's sweet. It's part of the whole thing.
It's sweet.
But it's like that.
That's what I want to do.
That's the good stuff. Dude.
Yeah, that's when I feel my best, man.
That's the stuff that you're gonna be, eventually, and your last days, you'll be like, I remember that.
Totally, dude. Totally, man. You don't. I can't do nothing with an iPhone when I'm on my deathbed. That doesn't feel like nothing.
Yeah.
That's what in my head. That's what those things are, and they're on my shelves. But like, can't do nothing with them.
I remember someone asked me the question. They were like, "Would you rather have? How do you word it? You said more time or more success, or
I just
something."
Heard this today.
Yeah. Which one would you rather? I'm phrasing it poorly.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on.
It's like would you rather have more time or like immediate success or something? And a lot of people said, immediate success, and because they're not thinking about more time, they want to just accomplish things. And I remember thinking, like, my truthful, honest answer, I would say immediate success, and then on my deathbed, I'm going to wish I had more time. I'm going to wish I picked the other thing.
For sure.
Yeah. Because at the end of it, I could be the most awarded, lauded filmmaker. I can change lives, and that's all beautiful. But I'm going to be there with my family, and I'm going to be like, shit, man.
Let me ask you this, bro.
Yeah.
I'm asking so many questions, dude. I'm sorry.
Please keep going.
I'm just in a vein of like,
good. Keep going.
Let's keep it going, man.
And I'm asking both of you this.
Good.
Let's do it.
If let's say you became super successful, do you think the Spielbergs of the world, do you think like the hottest, the PTA? Do you think PTA feels that? What I felt at Reading. Do you does it penetrate?
Like
when you reach a certain level of success, do you think you're able to feel that anymore? And we don't know. We're speculating here.
Yeah.
This is a game, kind of. But just like as a thought exercise, like imagine that you go out and people are like, dude, I love you so much, man. Matheus Bastos. You're like, dude, I watched your last fucking 10.
Right.
I'm not gonna curse.
You're good.
Last 10 films, man, and like you changed my life, and you changed my life 10 times a week.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I've said it to people where it's been like point.
Yeah. Because I'm sure at some point there is a desensitization to it, right? Because I think there is also this idea of like obviously it means a lot to you, but can you imagine how many times celebrities, actors, how many times any of the 3 Spider-Man have heard like, I love your Spider-Man, and it's like. And it's just part of it all. But I can also see, and so it's hard to say because I think there is, no matter what, not a level of being jaded, but there is a level of like, once you start finding a certain amount of success, you love what you do, but there is like the business of it that is unavoidable. There is this that's unavoidable. So I think they will always like have this gratitude of things, and they'll always take it in. But I think at a certain point, maybe the PTAs or the Spielbergs are like, oh, thank you so much. Maybe not bounce up a bit, take it, but be like, all I'm thinking about is the next thing. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of have to keep. I don't know if you. What do you think?
The pressure's mounting too to do the next thing.
It is,
right?
Yeah.
You got to keep that up.
And so I can almost imagine a world in which like how many directors say like once they put their movies out, they don't read the reviews.
Right.
Right. There's like I did what I had to do. It's out there. If my closest friends and family love it, if my collaborators love it,
that's it.
Like I hope you love it, but I don't want to know about it. You know. So I wonder. Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
I kind of want to answer this with a question that I wanted to get to.
Oh, okay.
To be the final question.
Let's go.
But I think it ties into like this is like a tough word to say it is, but I think like the confidence of him or like people like that is like, I wanted to ask you too, when do you think you like, because obviously I think, professional acting, professional director, photographer, work on, you know what I mean? Big sets.
Profession.
I know, yeah, it's a whatever word, but, Matt works on, like, I looked through, like, the stuff you made, and it's, like, years and years. Like, you're doing so much. It's, when do you think you gained, like, the confidence of being, like, oh, like, I can do this? Like, when you're shooting, like, the the film, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were talking before about you're shooting on like actual film.
You're
It's
shooting
like
the feature on film.
money, right? You're rolling money. It's like, how do you not feel like that, like pressure, like the pressures of everything, or because I think at a point you get to this point where you're just confident in your work or who you are, and that you can just get it done, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember like what that point was in your like career?
I don't know if I fully reached it. I think with experience and learning and just with the whole thing, you reach a level of like some sense of confidence of like, okay, I think I can do good, but I don't think there's ever this confidence of like, I killed it, or I am incredible, or whatever. And I think every day has its own like challenges with that. I think where I found I try to let it go as often as I can. Yeah. After I heard one of the greatest living cinematographers, Roger Deakins, who did No Country for Old Men, Blade Runner 2049, 1917, so many films. Incredible. Yeah. He talks about every day on the first day, he's like glues his eye to the viewfinder and doesn't leave, because when he's looking down the viewfinder, everyone leaves him alone, and what he wants to do is just panic and stay in there. Or I hear stories about big directors of photography being like, I take a long bathroom break on day one just to like get away from it, because they're like, and Deacon's talk about, he's like, every day on day one, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I feel like imposter syndrome, which is, a big topic in the art community, feeling nervous, feeling this lack of whatever, I think it's something that we're always going to carry with us. Yeah. And I think comes varying degrees of like, we let it go, we lean into it, we allow others to come in, we push people out, like whatever it is, these are different things of what it takes. And if we were to ever, I think, lose that completely, then I think we might have gone the wrong direction. It's the same way how if I ever lost my empathy completely, if I ever lost my like my sense of anger for justice completely, if I ever lost my confusion, you know what I mean? Everything that we feel, positive and negative, all goes into what we do. Yeah. And if I ever lost one of it, even just to feel like, I would go back to Mark Rothko. Towards the end of his life, I think he was dealing with a lot of like mental health stuff, and it was just, I think he was getting suicidal, and just like, I feel like you see that in his work, oftentimes I think people describe films as like a mirror of a timeline of where people were at. Definitely. PTA, look at PTA's movies, like movies he made, go from Hard A to Magnolia to then he made Phantom Thread and Licorice Pizza. He's probably his most like free now, and I feel like they're all like part of it. So I think this idea of like the confidence of it, I think there's always like, you're battling two sides. You have the confidence in yourself to do something, but you're always going to be like searching like the best version of whatever you think you're meant to be. And I think nerves will keep us like if something makes you nervous, it's probably a good thing. Like if I ever get a script or something, and I feel like, oh, this does not make me nervous, I didn't think twice about it, let's go for it, bad idea. Then what am I giving to it? What am I getting from it? Right. Because even though we do what we do to give, I gotta get something too. Sure. I gotta make this for a reason. Sure. So that's, as far as the confidence, I think I have a confidence of like, I present myself a certain way and I want to accomplish something. I want people to see my work and feel like Matt knows what he's doing. When we talk to him, he knows what he's talking about. But on the inside, a buddy of mine, Andrea, shout out Andrea. He incredible cinematographer, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this. He recently got signed to an agency, who has an agent now for cinematography, and I reached out to him. I said, Andrea, like, I'm so happy for you. It was only a matter of time. Like, I knew it was going to happen. This guy's work is incredible. And he responded to me. He goes, thank you, my friend. I so appreciate it. And he's Italian and Brazilian, so he's like this, like, just this Europeanness to him. And he described it. I'm paraphrasing. He said, I feel like a fawn lost in the forest right now. Wow. And he goes, but I know this is my home. Bang. You know what I mean? Yes. And when I heard that, I'm like, dude, he like almost like it feels like a ticket, right? Boom, representation. Boom, your sign. Boom, we're doing this. Yeah. And I'm like, how do you feel? He's like, I feel like a fawn lost in the forest, man. He's like, I'm scared, but this is where I gotta be. Yeah. So when he said that, I'm like, dude, I hope I feel like a fawn in the forest for the rest of my days. Because the second I start feeling like I've outgrown this pool, I've outgrown whatever.
Why do it?
Why?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah.
So I went on for a little bit. That's me.
No, I get it. That's beautifully said. Yeah, man.
I think in a way that like, I feel like that those directors feel that. Back to your question, is like they feel that, but probably on like, because like, I'm sure Pete on Licorice Pizza probably has a million things that he's like he probably thinks is a mistake or a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. Probably like striving to keep going, and then like maybe people that praise it. I'm sure he like takes it in, but it's happened so many times.
Yeah.
And he also has this thing like, oh well, you know, there are these problems.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, it's not perfect though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like those great people are always trying to be like perfect, even though it's not possible.
So, something I really learned to value too, and you know, we don't have to keep going too long, but I remember when I was really early on in my career, I was writing some stuff or I was making some stuff, I shared it to as many people as possible and be like, what did you think? And it was like the volume of like how much feedback I got was everything.
Yep.
And then so I have like this one friend who he's a writer, and he's telling me, he's like, oh, I'm working on my script, and I sent it to like a lot of people, and I get mixed things, and I was like, cut that list down to half and then half that.
Yes.
And so for me, like, I hope people like my work, but if like these 5 to 6 people who are like part of my tribe, people that I love, people who I admire and that mean a lot to me and their thoughts mean a lot to me, if those 5 to 6, my family, if it succeeded with them, then it's worth everything. Those 5 to 6 is worth more than the hundreds, you know? Yeah. And that's something I always think about. It's just like, like, so in this case with these directors, maybe obviously people love it, but maybe right now the opinion that matters the most is like, what do their kids think of it? What does their spouse think of it? And I feel like at a certain point you could have the whole world fawning after you, but if what you made didn't resonate with those you love, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I don't want to go on too long, but I love to, if we want to end it soon, what are you guys hoping for 2022?
Oh, beautiful question. What are you hoping for? You were talking about it a little bit before the podcast.
Yeah, I think in the beginning of the podcast we were talking about how Matt, you were talking about how you were going through like different changes and stuff, and I don't know, thinking back and like trying to find your footing again. Like when you were having trouble. I think right now I'm in like a very strange. I talk about it like on a couple podcasts, but like I just don't know what the like journey is, like what's ahead. And I'm trying to like figure out different things, and I think I'm finding out things. I think this year, this is my year. I think I'm gonna become a hermit. I'm gonna be in here a lot, this apartment a lot. Nice practicing guitar, music stuff. I think I'm gonna add. Yeah, I have a music video coming up.
Nice.
But I think I'm gonna add watching a movie every day.
Let's go.
Because I need more movies.
Let's go.
Because I want to get back. Essentially, like I want to get back into like the movie stuff.
Maybe a Mike Mills marathon.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to do a movie every day.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And also probably go to the gym every day and just try to see how far I can go and do it. You know.
Let's go.
I want to just because I feel like it takes time to. I've been really like learning that you just have to keep doing something every like day, like for an hour. Like guitar, I gotta practice it every day for an hour, or else I'm not gonna get better. You know what I mean? And that's just how it is.
Dude, that's the answer to your question about confidence, I think.
Yeah.
For me, it was
you just
like,
gotta do.
I wanted it so bad that I did it and thought about it.
Yeah.
And like dreamt about it, and then would go out and do a scary thing all the time. Like to the point where like now I lean into, I'm very fearful.
Yeah.
Like Matt's saying, like there's always some fear floating around when it comes to a story or something I have to do to tell it.
Yeah.
Like there's a list of things I know I have to do by May.
Yeah.
To be able to portray and like to not cheat someone from watching it, but to just really have to give a thing.
Yeah.
You know, I have to really care.
Yeah.
And that costs something, and like that's scary to me.
Yeah.
And I've done that before many times, but like now it's like it's almost like a reflex. So I'm not confident. I'm not like confident in, oh, this is gonna be epic. Like I'm gonna just shred this and it's gonna be the best film ever. And I know it's gonna come with a lot of trials, but like I'm more confident in leaning into the fear of the thing and knowing that if I just do it, there's going to be some version of it that's going to happen. And it's going to be the best I can give you in the moment.
Yeah.
If I let it all go on that day after doing all this work and I'm free to the moment and I know how to work now because I've learned how to do it and tried and tested it and I know it works for me most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time.
Yeah.
You know, you're dealing with an art, so it's like you have to rely on the day.
Yeah.
You have to rely on who you're working with. But I'd say that the answer is over a decade, I've become more confident when leaning into the fear of it and knowing that if I just do a thing, trust my instincts, I'm going to get closer to it than farther away most of the time. So it's the doing of the thing, like you're saying. It's like going and playing guitar for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Know, putting out an EP. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hardest. I don't know what quarantine did, but it just made me feel so.
It got a lot of
feel
us.
very. You know what? I actually wanted to read this thing that
let's go. Read.
I saw today. Shout out Lynn. She posted this.
Shout out Lynn G?
Yeah.
Lenny G. Love you.
It's by Adam Grant. I don't know who that is. But it says burnout is being overwhelmed by work. Bore out is being underwhelmed by work. Having too much responsibility is exhausting. Having too little is deflating. Idle time and pointless tasks undermine energy. Motivation depends on balancing what's meaningful with what's manageable. I think that's been a problem of mine, is like balancing everything, you know, because I do the work stuff. I decided that's a part of my journey I have to take, but it's kind of like weighing on this other thing now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it made me feel kind of lost.
So you're burned out with work and you're bored out with creativity stuff.
Yeah. So I feel like deflated when I'm in here. I'm like, oh, I have everything, but it, like I try and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing comes.
Yeah.
But now like I started getting excited about stuff more.
Yeah.
So I was changing stuff around. So that's the plan for 2022.
Love it.
You know?
And it's a muscle too.
Yeah.
Right? It's a muscle. You gotta
Yeah,
exercise.
yeah.
It's a plant. You gotta water it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It takes that time.
Yeah.
So
And I think that lines up with my like life situation too.
Totally.
You know? I think this is the next chapter.
I agree, man.
What about you?
2022. What did I say last time that I wanted? Feature.
you got a feature coming up.
Got a feature
Congrats
coming up,
on
dude.
that,
Yeah, man. Thanks, dude. And you too, man. Congrats.
Thank you,
I want to. Yeah, just do a great job on that. I want to have a cool
I think that's solid.
experience.
Honestly.
Yeah,
That's definitely solid.
I guess that's it, man.
Yeah.
I want that.
Great, man.
Yeah, we'll fight for that. We'll go
Okay,
towards that. How about yourself?
I'm just hoping for, obviously there's the more growth, there's more, more doing the thing more, better, bigger, everything.
Yeah.
Like it's always like you want to do more, the same thing but better. Right?
Yeah.
But I think the thing I hope for the most,
I want to fail.
yeah, right. I think the thing I hope for the most, man, is just more beautiful moments.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
More
smelling roses.
more smelling roses, more
Yeah.
beautiful moments, and more whatever it is, like just more quality.
Love it. Dude, love
Better. And if that means like bettering myself, bettering the product, bettering my work, but whatever it is, just let's do it better.
it. Yeah.
Better than before.
Boom.
I think that's it,
Boom.
yeah, man.
Well, thank you, Matt,
Of course. Thank you guys.
for coming through.
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
It was
Thank you.
amazing.
Welcome back anytime.
Beautiful talk.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Doors
man.
open, dude.
Yeah,
Let's
man.
be
You're
back,
always
man.
welcome back. The website to find
Oh,
you.
yeah. Where do we find you?
You can type in
It'll be in the description. Scroll down.
MatheusBastos.com, or I go by Matt too, so just MattBastos.com. Instagram is Matt_Bastos. Just type in Matt Bastos,
Yeah.
you'll find me.
Or scroll
around.
down. All the links are
Yeah,
there.
scroll down. Right
Links
there.
are there.
You'll see it.
Boom.
Any shout outs before we go?
Any shout outs? Shout out to everyone, man. Shout out to all the people who just, ever gave me a chance, ever wanted to spend time with me and create. And shout out to Jordan and Kalani. I love those guys.
Boom.
You guys change. I don't tell you enough. You guys changed my life, man. I love you guys. So shout out to them.
That's
Boom. Wow.
Damn.
Let's go.
You know who you are. Damn. You were a podcast episode 154. You already know. You know where to find the podcast. Shout out to the patrons.
Shout
Once
out to
again,
the patrons.
the best way to
again.
support. YourPodcast.com.
You're putting gas in the gas tank
Yes.
for the podcast.
I mean,
Thank you very much.
patreon.com/YouAreAPodcast. Boom.
Yes.
You know, find the podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube video, Anchor.fm, www.youareabox.co. Cannot for DM.
DM.
My name's Mike. I'm signing.
My name's Dave. I love y'all. Please be kind to one another.
And thank you guys for having me, man. And let's make a great 2022, man.
Boom. Yes. Boom. Boom. Let's go, dude.